Hi, everyone. My name is Mimi Brackett. We're going to get started on our webinar today. In just a couple minutes, we just want to give attendees a minute or two to join the event. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. We're just going to give another minute to give attendees a time to get into the event. All right, it's 2:02. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Mimi Brackett. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. So welcome to How to Boost Your Business with White Label UCaaS webinar. To get us started, just a couple housekeeping items. We will have a Q&A session towards the end of the event. So be sure to type your questions into the Q&A panel in the Zoom panel. And then this webinar is also being recorded. So you'll be receiving a recording after the event via email. So keep an eye out for that so you can refer back to the event as needed. To go ahead and get us started, I'll introduce our speakers for today. We have Sean Breeden, our channel director at SkySwitch, and Brian Hall, solutions advisor at Versatile VoIP. So with that, I'll hand it off to Sean.
Thanks, Mimi. Appreciate it. Brian, appreciate your time today. Looking forward to a good conversation. If you want to hop to the next slide there, Mimi, we can get started. Yeah, well, first to start off, kind of a quick introduction to who we are and what we do. SkySwitch is a private label hosted PBX, SIP trunking, and unified communication solution. We only sell to the channel. So MSPs, IT companies, interconnects, IT company, VARs becoming IT companies, OTD dealers, office technology dealers, security companies. We're seeing a large change in who we do business with, where before it was your traditional interconnects and MSPs, but now there's a lot of different organizations that are providing voice to their customers. So we don't sell direct. We strictly sell into the channel, and we put our partners in the business of selling their own private brand. Some of the benefits that come with this model is that our partners are able to own their customers. So your customers sign direct contracts with you. They honestly don't even know who SkySwitch is unless you decided you wanted to divulge that information. Therefore, you'll dictate the term. So whether you want to have a customer come on for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or a month, that's totally up to you. But they sign that agreement with your organization. You own that customer. Another major key component of this partnership is our partners are able to create a monthly recurring revenue. So we don't pay a commission. We don't pay some sort of stipend. Our partners make the difference between cost of goods to whatever they dictate retail is. And then last but not least is the margins. Margins tend to range anywhere to 50 to 70 plus points. The reason why there's such a large delta there is because it really just depends on what you're retailing out a seat for. So whether you're selling it as unlimited, which most of our partners do, or buckets of minutes, meters of minutes, there's various different ways that you can sell it. But your margins should sit in that 50 to 70 plus point range. So kind of just a quick who we are, what we do before we hop into things here. Once again, Brian, appreciate you joining the call here. we'll just really kind of start it off with some quick stats here. Obviously we have a lot of people working from home, rapidly increasing number of companies interested in cost-effective communication solutions. So migrating from that traditional on-prem system to more of your hosted based solution. I know a lot of our partners were able to benefit from what they like to refer to as mailbox money during COVID. So I think that's kind of a great place to have you jump in here, Brian. I know with COVID and the challenging times with everyone working from home was how did that affect your organization? Did you see growth during that time? Were you able to pivot maybe some of those customers that were fighting to come off of those old on-premise systems?
Yeah, well, just a little background for me. I'm an old telephone guy. I've been doing PBXs, key systems, commercial paging systems, all that since 1995. And so I still had a lot of clients from those 90s years and early 2000s that were still on their traditional systems when COVID happened, trying to nudge them into a better technology, a much more collaborative system for them, and be able to be the mobile round that you have to be nowadays. Well, COVID forced the issue on quite a few of those. And to be honest with you, the conversion for our clients that were already on our system, or to go the ones that weren't on our system to be converted, it wasn't a big thing. We forwarded their main number, we built their domain, dropped off the soft phone app or the desktop app for them, and those people were able to continue working as is, even if they were on our system or they weren't. And we spun up conference bridges, video web meetings, all that, even some of our local communities at no charge, because during COVID, when it happened, nobody knew what was going on. We were all at standstill. And then as things began to unfold, they realized that, as everybody else probably on this call, some of the workforce stayed at home. Some became a hybrid, and it really brought on business for us and opened up avenues for other clients.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think that brings me back to the point of one of the benefits of our platform is that, we don't charge by device, right? So if you already have a customer on the platform and their extension 101 and they have a phone sitting on their desk in the office, and now they need a soft phone on their Mac or their PC, or they want another phone located at their home office because now they're working from home. You can just easily add those devices right to what they currently have at no additional cost.
Right.
So you're not incurring a cost as a partner, and it's up to you. I guess our partners can charge if they want to charge for additional devices, but you as a partner are not going to incur those costs. So
and Sean, that brings up a good point. We had clients that had desk phones. Well, they're saying, well, can I pick my desk phone up and take it home? Well, you can, or you can spin up the app at no extra cost and work right from there, and it'll appear as if you're at your office, or the desktop application if you needed to. And so it really benefited. And you're right, it wasn't any additional cost for us, and for our clients, because when the mobile app, we just put it with our base price. The mobile app comes with it. Now, if you turn on texting and stuff like that, that was an additional cost, but most of our clients at that time were doing texting. So it really was, I didn't really have to leave my office to help get people up working at home.
Yeah, and then from a provisioning standpoint, I mean, I always kid around and say you can get a phone up and running as fast as you can type. I mean, it's drop down boxes, it's clicking on radio buttons. You're adding the MAC address there, and you can get a phone up and running in less than 3 minutes. So when it comes to the control of the process, that tends to fall on your court, to where if somebody calls you and says, hey, I need another device, or I'm hiring 2 new people, I need 2 phones set up, as long as the hardware is on site and the internet's sufficient, which nowadays shouldn't be an issue, depending on where you're located. But yeah, you can get those devices up and running in no time.
Absolutely. It makes it real nice. And if you use the SkySwitch store to get your phones, like the A-Link phones is what we use. What's beautiful about that now is you can provision devices right out of the store with extension and everything, and it streamlines the process. It makes it very easy.
Yeah, having pre-provision drop shipped on your behalf if you're on site to do the install and provide that white glove experience that it usually tends to make it nice and easy. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Next slide, please. The benefits of UCaaS. So, kind of it's a couple of points that we've talked on here. So increasing productivity, stay connected during a disaster. We were referring to COVID. You're able to save time and empower their teams. Empower their team just meaning, is somebody working from an office location? Are they working remote? With that being said, Brian, do you focus on a specific vertical, or do you have customers that are more office oriented, a little bit of both, road warriors?
Yeah, we have actually a wide variety of verticals that we're in. Insurance companies that have multiple locations, manufacturers that have salespeople on the roads, call centers in different towns. There's a lot of different verticals. We're in the medical industry. I mean, automotive. I mean, you can go name it. We're about in it. Restaurants, those sort of things. Retail, and it really fits. The solution really fits any of those verticals.
Excellent. Next slide, please. Some UCaaS myth busting here. So the price is too high. Voice quality won't be good enough. I guess we'll kind of walk through a couple of these. So, from a price point standpoint, I know I love to throw this one over to you, Brian. Could you just kind of give the audience an idea of what you're charging from a retail standpoint? I know it differs.
Well, yeah, it does differ.
Where the phone lives, but kind of a broad idea.
Based on, size of client, obviously as the numbers increase, your price per seat is going to need to be a little less than your normal, your 5 to 25 user. The per seat license we charge is not as much for, a 500 site user, because a lot of our larger clients like that are either retail that have phones just hanging on walls somewhere. They're not going to utilize minutes, but we really come down to, we have 3 different ways we price things. We have an all-in-one plan that includes a phone, that includes all the support, the warranty of the phone, the texting. I mean, anything they really need is all included. That's transcription, recording, everything else right there. And so that's one level. And that usually goes up to 25 seats. That's about the max we see people utilizing that. Then we also offer an option where they can purchase the phones themselves if they would like. And then we charge the per month will be less than that first plan. And then as you get into the larger, then our base price comes down even more on that. But we usually don't include phones for the real large clients, because at that point they buy so many different types of phones. You have an office phone, you have a factory phone or a file room phone, or on a Walmart, there'd be a phone on the wall, those sort of things. So the pricing does go down as you move. Now, as far as what we do charge, we try to stay the same in whatever plan it is. Because I can tell you, if you get into giving the prices to this person, price to this person, then for accounting purposes, it becomes a nightmare. And then the other thing too is, what if this client talks to this client if you're in that area? And so we want to be the same to all of them. So our base, as far as our meat plan that has everything included, you're looking right around $29, $30. That's with the phone included, the texting, the transcription, everything included per month. And the other ones you're looking at like $16 to $18 a month, just depending again on how big it is. And then if you get into the big large sites, you're usually looking right around $10 a seat for that. That's what we generally do as far as pricing. And I will say this, that is very comparable in the market we're in to what the Spectrum selling, Ring Central, 8x8, any of the other big boy players. And we can talk about this later, but I know some people will do stuff on price, but by just trying to sell on price, you kind of cut yourself short of what you offer to the client and then what SkySwitch offers us as a reseller, the benefit we have with them. But I'll toss it back to you, Sean, when we get to that point.
Yeah. Like you said, hey, I know price is important. Everyone wants to, have the most aggressive price point possible. But in this relationship, I think that what comes into play the most is a value, right? I mean, probably most of your customers are in a 20, 30 mile radius. You're able to, you have an onboarding process. You have from a support standpoint, people can text you or call right in. Somebody picks up within the first couple rings. So, comparing that to your larger VoIP competitors out there, it's just they're unable to provide those things. You're probably going to talk to somebody that's different every time, and the relationship isn't there. And one stat that always sticks with me is they say about 85% of all new business in our world, in this realm, comes from referrals. So
That's
that's
that
important.
really is true. I can sit here and tell you that I'd say even it's greater, probably 90% of our business is all referrals. And I don't get into pricing war. We don't get into pricing wars. Our price is our price. But what we try to stress to the client is the value that we bring. We're local. We'll treat you right, the white glove treatment. And if there's an issue or anything, you're looking at the person that you're going to be contacting, or somebody on my team. It's not somebody who never in another country. The support, we can name all the big players out there. I can tell you, we've had numerous of those just come to us, not necessarily because we were cheaper, but because of the referrals of our other clients, of the support and everything that we give them, which brings value to the process.
Truth. And with that being said, do you have a process in place? One of the things that stick out on this slide that always makes me laugh is voice quality. So are you doing things on the front end to make sure that there's enough broadband that, with 80K per concurrent call, I mean, it doesn't really impede on the network very often, especially nowadays. But are there things that processes that you follow when you're going to do an install with a new customer, just to make sure everything's kosher?
Yeah, absolutely. On every install, doesn't matter if it's 2 phones or 200 phones, we have a site survey that has to be done, signed off, and completed before we even do any porting forms, talk about programming, order anything, have the client sign anything. Because the last thing you want is to put something that you think is great value on a bad internet connection or a bad, an old firewall. So there's steps of process where we check the internet connection, we verify that, verify they're not in contract, but also verify their on-prem equipment that's going to affect the VoIP. They mainly being the router, firewall, the switches, and those sort of things. And we do the site survey, we expand it. It's always evolving because we run into things that you don't see, so we add it to our process. So that site survey started with maybe 4 or 5 lines. It's like the 30 lines now. Some of those are redundant, but hey, is this number that we're going to be porting? Is it a fax number? Is it an alarm line? Is it a credit card? I know a lot of those people don't use those anymore, but believe it or not, we ran into some small restaurants that actually were using some of those analog copper lines that we were going to convert. And the last thing you want to do is convert a number that's being used, and then the client says, oh. So it really heads off any issues that you would have. So yeah, as far as the quality, that's not even an issue anymore. And especially if you're dealing with somebody with fiber, I mean, it's not again, it depends on the site, the usage, those sort of things. But we use the MPAT tool. We run some other tools that we use to make sure that the network coming from the outside in and then the inside out is stable and ready to go.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we have a tool that we've created for our partners that's brandable. It's called NPAT, so it stands for Network Performance Assessment Tool. It enables you to run diagnostics on a site diagnostic. So what's the upstream broadband, what's a downstream, you're able to have, you're able to run, if you put 10 concurrent calls on the pipe, how much broadband will it take up? So it's a nice tool. I know a lot of our partners use to kind of give you, pre-qualify per se, when you're going out and you're doing an install.
Absolutely.
Just the last one. The last one I wanted to touch on here is new technology when it comes to overworking the staff or change. I mean, everyone always says they hate change, or some people may say they don't mind change, but to me, it's always the adoption of change, which is the challenging part. As you're rolling out new technology or replacing legacy technology, are there any challenges that you bump into on the front end from, concerns of adapting to the new technology or learning how to use, a Yealink phone or what have you, also a new soft phone, any component of the new platform that's the new solution that they'll be utilizing?
Well, it really comes down to the human. It's human nature doesn't like change. Before I got on this call, I was just at an install. I was running a little bit late. That's where I was actually on an install. And the one lady before I left, she goes, Brian, she goes, I really don't like change, but this change I can see is going to be very beneficial for our company. And a lot of that was because of the process that we had. We try to make the change, because especially if you're going from a legacy system, PBX, key system, to a new solution with like SkySwitch, there is some changes. There is some hurdles as far as them being able to do things, how they transfer calls, those sort of things. So what we've done, and we try to create a white glove process, implementation process, is during that time, before that port over is even done, we do our best to make sure that the main key answer points, like your front desk or office assistants, those sort of things, make sure that they understand how to use that phone. And do I go on site? Absolutely. Do we go on site? Absolutely. We want that personal touch to try to make that change, but inevitably it's going to come down to the human being. They'll have to make that change. But I will tell you that even a person that tells you that they don't want to have anything to do with it, if you treat them right and you do the implementation right, you may think that they're your biggest hurdle. They can become your biggest advocate after the installation. But it all comes down, again, how the process goes. But there isn't one thing that I've seen that's really been that difficult, because we set our phones up, the Yealink phones, with the biggest thing is like the on hold. When you're doing hold on legacy systems, there's lights flashing, the buttons flashing, you press buttons. Well, you can do the same thing on the Yealink phones. Just use the park buttons. I won't spend too much time on that, but that's really it. I mean, outside of that, it's just, again, it comes back to on us training and explaining how this the new system works to make sure they know that.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that's one big question I always get, especially from a lot of Toshiba dealers, is, are we able to mimic the key system? Because a lot of people are just so used to that type of setup, and you are able to mimic that over to our platform. So that should hopefully be a smooth transition.
Absolutely.
Next slide, please. The white label advantage here. So it starts off with branding. So I'm gonna touch on that first, which to me is one of the key advantages of this partnership is, I always say, pretty simply put, our partners are able to leverage us for infrastructure as a service, software as a service, onboarding and ongoing training. Essentially, our partners going out, evaluating their customers' network topology, and put the phone on the desk, all by being brought to your organization. So nobody really knows who we are. I always kind of like to kid around and say we're eyes behind the curtain per se, but you're just really leveraging us for the back end, and then your face is on the front end. So we have a marketing team that has built a lot of marketing documentation for our partners to leverage, that they can go out and use and put their branded name on. So, I think as we see almost on a weekly basis now, with mergers and acquisitions happening, if you ever decide that you want to exit your business, it's usually worth 3-4x more when you're owning those customers. So There's nothing wrong with the different agent models out there, but unfortunately in those type of models, you don't own the customer. They're signing up with whoever they're an agent for. Where in our model, you're owning the customers. They're signing direct contracts with you. So I know you guys, Brian, have just went through a name change. Can you just kind of shed a little bit of light on what decided you to pivot there?
Well, when we started with SkySwitch, the name of our company was Cloud NBS. Went through it and we had good success with it. But we started hearing from new clients or even potential clients, what is Cloud NBS? Cloud, we had a little icon cloud, but it never really said or showed what we did. So we have weekly meetings, and so we were bantering back and forth. And what kept coming back, and even from our clients, is we ask our clients after every implementation, we ask our clients many different things. One of the big things is, how'd the implementation go? How's the system working for you? And that follow-up usually is 2 to 4 weeks after the install. And what kept coming back is versatile. The system's very versatile. I told you before all the different verticals we're in. Some are more profitable and some aren't, but there's ways to get around that too. But versatile in the way the different verticals it is, the way the system's being used. So we looked at all each other and said, what about versatile VoIP? Okay. So we actually talked to some of our bigger clients and they said, you know what? That sounds great. That's a great name change. So we actually, beginning of this month here, not even about a week ago, we rebranded to Versatile VoIP. And I will tell you that Sean and their team, SkySwitch, made the rebranding very simple. It's a very simple process. They have it all laid out. We just had to do some things on our end. And once it was done, our clients are already on board and they keep on rolling. Now, what we did was we were sending out notices with the Cloud MVS bills. Hey, look, this is the name rebranding. Nothing's changing. You're still going to have the same system, same support team, and an awesome experience. But SkySwitch made it very easy to do that. So that's where Versatile VoIP came from, and that's just a new rebrand.
I like it. Yeah, I do. I like it a lot better than an MVS. So I like the logo. I like the name. So hopefully it brings more success to you guys.
Hey, believe it or not, it's had a lot of great feedback. It's brought some conversations to doing some other features in the SkySwitch platform. Some of our clients, believe it or not, a simple name change.
Yeah. What can you give the audience an idea of the size of your organization, Brian? Because I know one of the biggest things that I tend to bump in on the front end is, oh, well, I'm not a large organization. I don't know, if I'm a fit for a white label model, but I always kind of joke around and say, we have partners that are one-man bands, 2 guys and a dog, and a husband and wife, and they have thousands of men on our
All
platform.
right. So Versatile VoIP itself, I can hold the number of employees in one hand. 4. And we support near 2,000 handsets. Now, we do include, now Sean, I'll just go ahead. I'm not jumping the gun, but I will tell you, this is how and I think he hit on it a little bit. Our clients know nothing about SkySwitch. We bring SkySwitch in with us, and they're part of Versatile VoIP. So when somebody asks us how many, when our clients, we got a team of 80-some people. That's part of our team. And we're not lying, that's the truth. The SkySwitch, Sean and his team, the support team, the engineering team, the porting team, that's all a part of us. And that's how we present it. And so if you're asking about Versatile VoIP, so.
Yeah, I know a lot of questions I get on the front, well, I'm just getting into this, or I haven't done voice, or, it's my partner and I, are we really a fit? And, really at the end of the day, what it comes down to, in my opinion, is, do you have an addressable audience? Do you have a demand for these services? If the answer is yes, I'd assume you're a fit. If you don't know or you're not sure, well, then that might be a different conversation. But if you have the ability to go out there and sell these services, voice solutions to your customers, I'd assume that we would be a fit for what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Well, another topic I like to touch on is stickiness, churn. Do you guys see much of that? Do you see many customers bleeding out on the back end? Is it very minimal, or if and when you do, is there any certain reasons why somebody might be moving to another solution?
Look, I'm not going to pat myself on the back. Ever since we've been with SkySwitch, I'm gonna again, it's on a single hand of how many clients we've actually lost. 3.
Wow. And this wasn't rehearsed.
And those weren't anything because of what,
no.
and it wasn't anything because of we did. It was just acquisitions by 2 of them were acquisitions by larger companies, and the other one actually closed. That's the God's honest truth.
Yeah, it's a very sticky product. Solution. We don't see much churn on the back end from our partners, especially the successful ones. If you're able to go out there and proactively sell it, we're as stable can be. Or I'd like to think we're as helpful as we possibly can. I mean, our success, our partner's success, it falls on our shoulders. I mean, if our partners aren't out there, having the tools they need to win deals, we're not obviously generating any revenue. So,
Sean, can I just expand a little bit?
Sure.
What we feel like is a part of that is it's the relationship with SkySwitch and the support that we've gotten from them that has really helped solidify our relationships with our clients. And I will say this, being out front with them, if there is an issue or anything that happens, we try to get out ahead of it. Let them know, hey, there's an issue. They give you internet issue. If there's anything on the back end, anything like that, which hasn't been all that much. That's another plug for SkySwitch. There hasn't been that much. I'm just going to tell you. But I will say this, that again, the support and the relationship that we've had with SkySwitch and that they've given us, anytime we've ever needed anything, I can pick up the phone, I can call, I can shoot an email, get on chat, and they are very responsive and very supportive, and they do listen to what we have to say. So, and again, we can pass that on to our clients. We do the same thing with our clients. We try to be very attentive to our clients' needs and what's going on with their business. And the biggest thing we see is just listen to your client. They'll tell you what they need, and you just get your solution. And if you have any questions about that, I always get a hold of support. I've had Sean bring in on a couple deals with me, and he's helped me on quite a few of them. So they're there and again, very supportive.
Yeah, I love the hardware customer that you're dealing with. Can you just kind of touch on that a bit? I mean, how it started as a relatively small deal.
Yeah, this is a client that I had been servicing since 1995 when I first got into the field. I'll just tell you my first experience, and you guys will like this, is I walked into the building and I had my tools and laptop, and the whole building, the computer system, phone system, everything went down, and the owner come screaming out at me. He says, "Brian, what are you doing?" And I said, "I just walked through the door." And then everything come back up, but that helped break the ice. But just so you know, that was all. I used to have to carry tools and laptop to work on our phones, but I don't anymore. But anyway, so that was where it started at, and they built them from just a small hardware store. They actually went to a call center with 20, 30 agents that needed reporting. The solution they had was an on-prem system. They used it till there was no more support for them, and it was one of those things that we had our relationship with SkySwitch, but I had to bring Sean in on the deal to talk to them and to kind of give that little extra nudge to get them to get on the platform. And they've been on the platform going on 4 years now, 4.5 years, and absolutely love it. And that hardware store just recently got purchased by a larger corporation. Now in fact, I'm meeting with them next week to look to move off their Avaya system over to SkySwitch. So it's been an evolving process.
Yeah, yeah, it's not. I mean, that's what being embedded with your customers, right? Understanding what their needs and wants are. Talk to them on
Yeah,
a weekly, monthly basis, just the understanding what they're
right.
doing. As you gives you more opportunities to win more of their business, and
Yeah,
or more of their IT spend. It keeps the competition out, which is
right. And and the hardware store, we were more expensive. There was, but they saw the value. They saw what they could do uh, and the capability. And then when COVID happened, they had their agents log in at home. And the supervisor was able to do all that from home. So they had people partially coming into the store, some of the people going out, and she was able to easily move them in and out. But again, it comes down to relationships and having passion. If you've never done VoIP before or hosted VoIP, I'm telling you, as an old phone guy, I used to sell against this kind of stuff. Now it's the other way. I'm telling you, it's awesome. I'm smiling right now because I enjoy this. This is my life. The partnership with SkySwitch has made that all that much more. And I can tell you that was a deal breaker for us. And we had to find a right white label that we could trust in. And telling you what, they've been golden for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Brian. Excellent. I know we have to get moving along here, so we'll get to the next slide. Which kind of leads us to this next slide, what you last stated there. So I know it's been a while now since you've been a partner of SkySwitch, but if you just think back, were there certain things that you were looking for in a white label partner? There's a handful of competitors that are out there, and I'm sure some things they do some things well also, but as you were going through and you're vetting out the competition, what were some of the key things that you were looking for?
I can tell you right off the bat, right off the top, would be communication with the white label. Because we brought in several, like you said, and we tried them out, and then the communication, then the stability of the network. We actually were able to get in and have a portal use and see how it would be user friendly. If you had a tech, would they be able to use it? End user, those sort of things. And we kept coming back to SkySwitch, so that's where we're at.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I always kind of joke around and say our portal is pretty easy to navigate. It's drop down boxes. It's clicking on radio buttons. It's an add and remove. So, you don't have to be a technology guru to administer the platform. Most people, you could have zero knowledge when it comes to technology, but once you get your hands in there a couple times, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. I know a lot of our partners, admins, do some of the provisioning and some of the Mac work. So I'm in sales and I can provision a phone, so that should say a lot right there.
Don't sell yourself short, Sean.
Next slide, please. Excellent. Yeah. So some tips for UCaaS resellers that's knowing your target audience, discuss specific features and benefits, and don't shy away from security. Can you just kind of talk about what your focus is there, Brian? I mean, I know you sell to a wide array of different verticals.
Well, yeah. So first off, when we go to meet, and it's usually by referral, like we talked about, is when we go to sit down, first thing we do is sit down and tell me what you're looking for. What don't you like about your current system? We let them feed us. We want to listen. So it's the only way to know your target audience, and it could be an insurance. We have quite a few insurance agencies, but even within that vertical, this insurance agency might operate a little bit different than this insurance agency. So if I create a solution that's just for all insurance agents, and I try to go put it in to this and it doesn't fit, then I don't want to, they're not going to say it's the right solution. So I'd say the number one thing is when you get in front of somebody, listen, let them bring those things to you. And when they bring those things to you, then you can start popping things. And that's why it's important to know the system, the back end, how it works, and get it in-house, test it, burn it up. I mean, work support. That's what I did. Work support, ask them questions. There's never a dumb question. And get to know it inside out, this different scenarios. Because what will happen is, because I would tell you that the other resellers out there aren't doing this. They want to sell them a phone and ship it to them and put it on their desk and walk away. They don't want somebody to actually come in and listen. And that's what can separate you. So you go in, your target audience can be whatever. And there isn't one that we're not afraid to go into.
How do you tackle the security question? Do you take that head on? Is that a topic that comes up a lot from
well, we set all our phones to TLS, and so it takes a lot of the SIP ALG, all that security. We let that go, and that's how we handle it.
Excellent. Yeah, appreciate it. Next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave everyone an overview of who we are, what we do. I think this was the last slide here. I guess I'll just touch on kind of how fast it takes for people, if there are people in the audience that are interested. We have new partners can get up and running in a week, or I would say our average is anywhere from 30 to 45 days, but new partners can get up and running in a week. We don't deter somebody that's looking to move through the process relatively quickly. We have an onboarding and training team. And if there's interest in getting to market quick, we'll give them everything that they need and that they want. Really, the only thing that takes any time is the billing, setting up the billing platform, which you don't necessarily need right away. You can bill in arrears, or you can. There's a little bit. You have some time before you need that completed. But in regards to actually learning the platform, getting access to it, having everything branded, that can be done relatively quickly. So quick time to market. This isn't something that you have to spend 6 months on to learn before you can get out there. We have live training. There's videos. There's a lot of documentation that we have for our partners, and just getting your hands in there and learning it. So very, very easy to get to market, and you can get a customer up and running as fast as you can get through that training. So yeah, very simple process. I think you guys were pretty quick when you got up and running, right, Brian? And there wasn't too many barriers, or I know onboarding is a very important piece with any new partner that you're bringing into your ecosystem. So yeah, maybe you can just kind of touch on how your experience was, or how you felt it went.
Well, it was very well laid out, and it's even more laid out now. And the other thing I'll say is the documentation you touched on. That's always being updated. It's not a stale where it just goes in there and it just collects dust. They don't ever touch it. They're involved in the documentation, because as things change, situations arise that they run into, they update those processes. So the onboarding process was very, very straightforward. There wasn't anything that was not hidden. I mean, it was hidden that we didn't know about. Sean made it very easy for the team for us to come on board.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking about the documentation. That's one thing I always promote, is we have a knowledge base that's embedded into our dashboard, into the portal that all of our partners have access to, and pretty much anything in our whole entire ecosystem is documented through the database. Not only will you find step-by-step written documentation of how to do things, a lot of times you also see screenshots as well as videos. As Brian mentioned, we update that documentation all the time. It's a living and breathing knowledge base. It's just not something that we've created 10 years ago and just sitting there and not being updated. We have that's one of our it's definitely a focus for us to keep that updated, and we know it helps partners like yourself, Brian. So that way, hey, it saves us all time, right? There's not many people that enjoy calling support, even if somebody's support is the best in the world. A lot of times we like to figure things out ourselves. So if you have the proper documentation and it's easy to access and easy to understand, we would probably tend to do things on our own. So
yeah, well, and then support, you know, a lot of times they'll help you, but they'll give you the document because I kind of look at it this way. If I can figure it out, I can know, and they can lead me in that direction. It's better knowledge for me so that I can avert something in the future to, you know, a setting or a scenario or something like that. But they've always been, you know, as far as that goes, you know, I don't want them just to fix it for me. I want to know why it needed changed or something updated. And the documents are very helpful with that.
Yeah, definitely helps you retain the knowledge a little bit more. Next slide. Does that bring us to the end here? All right. Q&A.
Yes, it does. It brings us to questions and answers. We only have about 3 questions in the panel so far, but that's okay because sometimes people throw some more in during the Q&A session. So feel free to keep adding more questions. But these are some really great questions just to get us started. Let me see. How is porting handled? I'll send this to Sean. I guess you can take it from here.
Actually, you know what? I'll throw it over the fence to Brian because you can,
Oh.
from a partner's experience, you can say how it's handled, how you handle it. It's, you know, not that what I say isn't true, but you're out there doing it on a daily basis, so I know it tends to resonate a little more.
Well, porting, it's really the same process for us, and again, that's part of that implementation process that we're constantly evolving. But porting is very, very easy to document. The biggest thing is you got to make sure with your client, first off, are they in contract, you know, with their provider, maybe it's another voice provider, whoever. Outside of that, you just get a copy of the latest phone bill, and you can get a CSR, a customer service request, with all the information on it. And if you're moving a number like from Verizon or T-Mobile, you got to find out the PIN number. You'll need a PIN number for that account on Verizon or T-Mobile. And then the porting, the forms that you fill out, have your client sign, get back, you put it in. And if there's an issue, SkySwitch will let you know. And they will do everything they can to port it. But porting is actually very easy. It's not hard.
Yeah, our porting team is great, you know, and to touch on, you know, how easy is it to purchase new numbers? So, I mean, that's all built right into the platform. So,
yeah, it's simple as you go over to where it says phone numbers, and you can put in your area code and office code if you want something specific. Now, I will say this, you know, SkySwitch is limited on what numbers they can get, but I haven't found an area that a number hasn't been available. And then you could also put in the city and the state, and you can select by that way also. But we can get a number within 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah,
have it routed, ready to go. So
yeah, exactly. Yep. It's one, you know, one question I get a lot is how fast can I get a customer up and running? And I always say as fast as you can type. So if they have the infrastructure already there and the phone's on site, you can get them a new number, you can have it provisioned, you can have that user up and running in no time. So,
yep.
You know, most of, you know, control to me is really one of the major benefits of the relationship is the control that you have there. You know, you don't have to contact us to purchase a number. You can go in, purchase a number, route it to the user, create the customer, create the user. So, you know, not having to rely on somebody else puts all that control in on your side of the court, which is important because, as we know, you know, things are dynamic these days, and you gotta keep moving. You don't want to send an email and not hear a response for 3 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Porting it makes it real easy.
All righty. So the next question we have is, and this might go to Brian as well. What is the pitch to move existing customers from one wholesale program to yours? Any advice?
You talking about like moving like from another white label provider to SkySwitch? Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, I think the wholesale was a little confusing there, but I would imagine like from one service provider to another.
Are you talking about like Ring Central, moving somebody off of Ring Central to?
Yeah, we'll use them. We'll use that brings. Yeah, well, we can use.
There you go.
Yeah, that's.
It's very simple. I mean, it's the same process. You know, you have to get the copy, make sure they're not in contract, make sure you get a copy of their latest bill, and then do the site survey implementation. And we move people from Ring Central, 8x8, Verizon, other providers all the time. Not an issue.
Yeah, and I assume so. Besides price, like as you mentioned, you try to stay away from price, which I always kind of kid around, but somewhat truthful is I would always charge more, is because the value you bring to the
That's
table
right.
is a lot more valuable than the RCs of the world, right?
Right.
Most likely, I assume that customer is local, so just
Yeah.
to be able to give them have that local presence. I know a lot of people enjoy doing business, and as long as you're comparable from a feature set standpoint, which we are, there's no longer. I always like to ask the question is, from a support standpoint, how long are you on the phone with somebody when you have to call support? There, right there could be your difference of $2 or $3 difference if your solution is more. So,
Right.
to be able to call somebody and know that you're going to pick up within the first couple rings, or to be able to text them and have the same person or same team working with them, to me it's important, especially in the IT world,
Yeah.
because you need things fixed fast if there is an issue going on.
Right. Now, if they were asking, moving from like core dial over to SkySwitch, my thing is I would just let, up front my clients know, look, this is what you're currently on, and we're moving to a different provider, or however you want to say that, due to us caring about you and the stability and all that. We didn't have to do that. So, but that would be something that you'd want to be out front with the clients and let them know. So,
Yeah, and I assume in that case, there's if you're looking to move from another one white label provider to another, there's some current problems happening, right? So if you can relate those problems back to the customer, hey, how you've been having your calls dropping, or you weren't able to do this, or the whole the dial tone experience hasn't been the greatest. Moving over to this other platform is going to fix all those and some. So I think always being able to relate it back to any maybe current problems they've experienced, or restrictions from a feature functionality standpoint it would be important to have that talk.
right.
I'm a little question in addition to that topic, to carry on. He's asking, are you the provider? So when you bring them over, I guess that goes along with the white label brand, right? You are the
Yep.
provider.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I think, as we alluded to earlier, really, unless you wanted to divulge that information, nobody knows who SkySwitch is. We're really on the back end. So,
Right.
in your customers' mind, you are the telephone company per
Yep.
se. As a partner, knowing that you have all the resources and expertise on the back end for you to be successful on the front end.
Okay. All right. Another question. Do you offer bill on behalf? Not sure.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one time?
Do you offer bill on behalf? So I'm wondering if that is the SkySwitch bill on behalf of the partner, or does the partner bill their own end
Yeah.
users, obviously?
Yeah, the billing is something that our partners handle. So again, the bill has our partner's logo on it. It has all their information. Our partners are billing their customers directly. They're paying them directly, and then we send our partners a bill on the back end from a wholesale standpoint. So yeah, I know billing and taxations is a big conversation. That's something that our partners do handle. From a taxation standpoint, there's a lot of third parties out there that'll help our partners. Again, even if that's the route you wanted to go, with an additional cost leveraging a third party, usually the delta between what you're making as an agent compared to what you're making as a white label provider, is so large that even an additional cost in that in that piece of it will not impede on your margins very much, and you'll still see a dramatic increase to what you were currently making to what you're making now. And Brian, you can touch on that from a billing standpoint. It's dealing with customers. I mean, I'm sure there's not many that do not pay. Everything's automated. A lot of people
Yeah.
set up
Now,
auto pay, or
I
you
mean,
entice people to set up
well,
auto pay.
yeah, well, we try to do the auto pay. Now, you occasionally have those people that don't. But what we found is that, again, if you do it right, you treat your customers right, they're going to pay it, because in all honesty, you're like a utility. They pay it just like an electric bill. They just keep paying it. So now we don't really have that issue.
Yeah, I'd say you're definitely towards the top of the totem pole when it comes to paying bills, right? The last thing you want an organization is to have their phones down. So, when things get tight, I assume as a provider, you're still getting paid.
Absolutely, and it's that important. Again, it's the value that you bring, and we try to have that relationship, and it truly is a relationship with each and every one of our clients. We try to treat them as where we run our business, and we want our business to be treated. So, and they appreciate that. And again, it becomes once they start in, after the first 2 or 3 that are paid, they just continue. Again, it's a utility.
Yeah, one of the beauties of billing is, you can bundle things together, as Brian was mentioning. You can call them different things. So whether you want a platinum, gold, and silver package, you can sell things a la carte. You can sell buckets of minutes. You can sell metered minutes. So, really from a creativity standpoint, you can build all these things and call them whatever you like. We have templates that can guide you along the way. But really at the end of the day, it's totally up to you what you decide to charge for things and what you decide to call things.
Yeah, and because we don't do the buckets of minutes and all that unless, we haven't really had anybody. So what we do is we try to go unlimited, but we account for, our cost is, I think Sean, you said figure 250 minutes per user. We do double that. We do 500 in configuring costs and profitability and that sort of thing. So for usage, but we don't get into detailing us selling auto attendance, selling, this sort of thing. We really try to keep the packages, have those things included.
Yeah, and to give the audience an idea, I mean, our partner's average cost usually sits around $5 to $7 your cost, and then people are usually selling it anywhere from $20 to $30. So you can see where the margins come from.
Yep.
Great. Well, we only have a couple minutes left in the event, so I'm just going to leave it with, we have one more question. Is SkySwitch available for the UK reseller?
Not yet, unfortunately. US and Canada.
Yep. I was going to say, I would love to travel to Europe from time to time for meetings with partners, but I know that's a whole other world, right? Actually, just got one last one in. Is SkySwitch platform multi-tenant, so the reseller has single pane of glass for management?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So it's geo-redundant. We have 4 nodes located across the U.S. We have one in Secaucus, New Jersey, Dallas, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Atlanta, Georgia. So 4 nodes across the United States. We're about as stable can be. We have to in our world, honestly, because if you think about it, our partners are putting their name on our infrastructure. So if there's issues and the stability isn't there, our partners have a lot to lose on the front end. So yeah, knock on wood, I think we do a really good job of keeping things up and running so that our partners can go out and be confident in the solution that they're leveraging on the back end.
Yeah, and you do, Sean. I can tell you, since we've been with them, there's been one instance, and it was out of their hands.
Fire in the data center.
Had a fire from one of the building where it was hosted. I think it was in New Jersey, and they just cut power to the whole building. So what the beauty of it was, did we lose some phones? They dropped down. Yep. But then they came right back up off the other node and they continued working. So, and it is a single pane of glass for all my clients. Yep.
Yeah, and then you can have your customers manage themselves. So there's different scopes that are set up. Yep. So some customers like to have access, some don't. So it's totally up to you of what type of access you want to give out.
Right.
Well, that wraps it up, guys. It's 3 o'clock, so we will have to end the webinar for now. Keep an eye out for your inbox because we will share a recording of today's event. If your questions were not fully answered, I'll make sure to share them with Sean. So if he feels he needs to elaborate a little bit more, he can always reach out. But if you have any more questions and you'd like to send them our way, you could send them to sbreeden@skyswitch.com, or of course, replying to the Zoom webinar you can get an answer that way. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Brian, for attending and
Thanks,
speaking
Brian.
on
Hey, yeah, it's good seeing you,
everything.
and thanks for everything.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, have a
All right,
great
Thanks,
rest of your
Mimi.
day.
all right, you too
Thanks,
now.
everyone.